Hello and welcome back to WD18, the Watford fan channel. Welcome to your post-match review live here on a Sunday night to talk about a Watford win away from home. It's been a while since we said that. The last time Watford did win away this season was against Sheffield Wednesday. Of course, Vacuum Bio scoring 4 goals. And I believe that was our first clean sheet away from home as well since our 0-0 draw against Ipswich back in, well, it was April, May time towards the back end of last season. And to do that, first off, I'm joined by Charlie Zazzera. Charlie, how are you, mate? Good day yesterday?
Very good day yesterday. No, it was good seeing some faces in the Harvester pre-match, and then I got to bump into Mike post-match. So a lovely sandwich with some great filling of Watford winning away, which is a bit of a surprise, but much needed, really.
Love it. I was going to say, actually, on From the Rookery end yesterday, we're joined by Mike Parkin, of course, co-host of From the Rookery and the original, and one of the best out there in terms of Watford podcasts. So make sure to check them out because yesterday we had a special guest on there. Mr. Charlie Zazzera was on there as well. Mike, how did Charlie get on?
Did Charlie just describe me as a filling in a sandwich then?
No, you're the bread.
Oh, okay. I don't know if that's better or worse. Charlie was an absolute... It was a pleasure to have him on, a pleasure and a privilege. We, picked the bones out of what was a fantastic performance, really, from Watford. Really, it's just an exciting away day, wasn't it? It had pretty much everything going for it. Great atmosphere, great performance, 3 points, and Charlie on the podcast. What more could anyone ask for?
Love it. And we'll get into what was better between Charlie's performance on From the Rookery and or Watford's performance yesterday at Pride Park. Before we get into it, a few things to get into. First off, this season, as I'm sure your long-term viewers will know, we've been giving £1 to Hertfordshire Mind for every goal that Watford have scored so far this season. We've scored 6 goals so far in January, obviously 2 more goals yesterday. We've still got 2 games to go, Preston at home on Tuesday night and Coventry away next weekend. So here's hoping that we'll be able to donate a few more pounds to charity as well. So make sure to get involved and check out the description for that as well. And on the topic of Hertfordshire Mind, they're also doing an Indian Sizzler night on the 27th of January, a night with incredible food. I love Indian food as well, to be honest with you. Brilliant opportunity to create a community connection and support for mental health. It's £25 per ticket. And there is a link in the description. Now, last thing as well.
What's your curry of choice, Sam?
I'm a chicken tikka balti man myself. It's really weird because I don't do spice at all, but chicken tikka balti for some reason really agrees with me. I love it.
I'm with Sam. I'm quite a mild curry man. I like a lamb seguala. I like a bit of spinach, action. Nice garlic naan, bit of pilau rice. And then I'll probably have a bit of yours, Sam, and a bit of yours, Charlie, as well.
Yeah, the big debate, obviously, in terms of whether people share their Indian, their Chinese food and whatnot. I get plain at Nando's, though. Like Nando's, for some reason, their spice levels just can't do it. I'm not sure what it is. I just can't do it. A bit like how Derby couldn't contain Watford yesterday, where it finished Derby County 0, Watford 2. Thank you. At Pride Park. First, but before we get into the actual game, though, Mike, I'll come to you first. But how did you feel going into this? Because I saw you on Tuesday night, Wednesday night away at Cardiff. I saw you before the game. I saw you after the game, and neither of us were particularly happy. We both said that was a performance that gets a manager sacked, or at least I said that, and I think you might have agreed with me as well. So what were your feelings going into this? Did you feel that the pressure was on not just Tom Cleverley but the team as well?
Yeah, both. And I was really interested with how hard Tom went on himself, really, and the team after that Cardiff game. I think the phrase he used was, "You won't see a performance like that again." And for those of us that were there and those of us unlucky enough to watch it in any form, really, I'd be grateful to hear that. But it's quite a bold statement for him to say. I was glad that he admitted he got it wrong, because I think he did. He went far too defensively against a team that was there to be got at. Their star striker wasn't playing. The guy Robinson, who scored the 2 goals at Vicarage Road, he wasn't playing. We saw him play yesterday against Swansea and he scored again. So that game was there to be won. And I think he talked about that clean sheet in the build-up. And I think he talked himself into putting the team out in a particular way. I also think they let him down really, really badly. We'd had said on the podcast early on, the polar opposite of yesterday, again on Tuesday night against Cardiff, we had an opportunity with a number of 50-50s and close run things to stamp our imprint on the game, and we didn't do it and let Cardiff off the hook pretty much straight away. So I don't think Tom got it right, but I think the players let him down badly as well. His comments afterwards then did put a bit of pressure on him. We kind of sounded like he was going to go a bit more on the offensive. He did. So I was glad. I think it was a good pivot to that new formation. Brave to put in a Banquer straight away at right back. But yeah, there was definitely pressure on him. The performance stunk on Tuesday. It was awful. Quite apart from the entertainment value, it is exactly as you said, Sam. It's the sort of performance that gets Watford managers the sack. And for us to see that game after the noise we'd had over the last 48 hours or 3 days before that was massively concerning. Yeah, so huge pressure going into yesterday.
Yeah, 100%. And I think the fans knew that as well. And we're going to come on to the fans and talk quite a bit about it later on in the show, because to be honest with you, I think that was one of the best performances I've seen from Watford fans in terms of getting behind the manager and getting behind the team. That's one of the best performances I've seen from the Watford fans in years. But we're going to get more into that later on. Charlie, on the team news with Watford, it was Tom Delly came back into the team, Edo Kiembe came into the 10, and the two most notable sort of bits of team news. Well, first of all, there was no Georgie Shapfatadze, bit of a hamstring issue he had, and also James Abankwah coming in to the side. Now I was still on the opposite side of the away pub yesterday, the Harvester, and me and Charlie looked over to each other when the team news dropped and just made eye contact and went, Abankwah, both looking incredibly confused because we thought this might be one that we bed in slowly. So Charlie, what were your thoughts on the team? Surprised as well to see Abankwah in there?
Yeah, surprised to see a Banquer in there, but more kind of looking at the shape. We went to a 4-2-3-1. I don't think we knew the exact shape until we saw it after kickoff. If anyone knows me and been chatting to me, I've said all season consistently how I just don't think we've got the personnel, and I don't think we're good enough defensively to play with a back four. My opinion hasn't changed after yesterday, and I'll go into some detail as to why. But a Banquer came in at right back. I did a video with Conor McAvoy, which you could check that out afterwards, and he was waxing lyrical about James, even though we've had some negative feedback from any Charlton fans. But he actually told me yesterday it was his first time he played at right back since he's been at Charlton. So it's not like he's been playing there for Udinese, so it's a completely new position for him. We'll get into it, but I thought he was excellent. And then you look at the rest of the team, great to see Tom Delly back in there with Loser. That could be something that hopefully we can see consistently. It was reassuring to see Tom Delly say the plan was only 45 minutes. And then, getting Barr and Vata on, I think there's a really nice balance between those two. And Kiembe, who I thought had a really, really good game yesterday. And I think he is a lot better kind of in an attacking position instead of as part of the double pivot. So I think it was pretty bold from Tom, but I think it paid off. And, it was good to see.
Yeah, 100%. It was needed, and I think it was almost a team selection that would have potentially moved a few feathers as well in the changing room. Almost Tom being happy to change it, drop the likes of Moussa Sissoko after what's been a difficult couple of weeks for him as well. I mean, the actual start to the game, that first 5 minutes was absolutely crazy. It was pure championship. And I'm going to start off with the first 30 seconds, Mike. James Abankwah, as good as he was, I mean, I was fearing the worst when that challenge went flying in the first 20 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, look, is it a yellow card? He got the ball. I mean, he's out of control. I guess he's gone thundering in. But and the way that he caught the Derby player afterwards, he's gone 360 and landed on his backside. It looks spectacular. So perhaps not necessarily the start you wanted in terms of just unleashing the chaos within 30 seconds, but going back to that Cardiff game and talking about setting the tempo, he did that. And we straight away at that point, Derby knew that they're going to be in for a tough afternoon. This isn't the Watford that you can just roll over. We're not going to have our tummies tickled. And I'm all right with it because we haven't had enough of it. We haven't had enough of that steel grit or determination from Watford players in the last couple of weeks, especially away from home. And somewhere like Derby where they've got a good, decent home crowd, decent numbers yesterday. They've been willing their team on because they're in desperate straits at the bottom of the table. So we can't give anyone an inch away from home. And I was just glad that it set the tone. And I think he grew into it from that moment on. He looked every inch. He looked like he was enjoying himself. He was interacting with the crowd. I thought he played an absolute blinder. And I think just that early hit, yes, it was a risky, but I'm glad it set the tone for the rest of the game. Because as you said, Sam, that was a championship tear up yesterday, and it was great, really good fun. Watford have had a few of those this year, But you've got to stand up and be counted in those. Otherwise, you're going to get rolled over, especially with potentially a noisy home crowd. So I thought he was fantastic. I loved the start, and it set the tone for a wicked afternoon. It was awesome, and so was a banquet. It was really good and repaid Tom's faith.
Yeah, I think Matty Pollock said in his post-match afterwards that he was actually applauding the challenge and doesn't
Yeah,
understand
right.
why it was a yellow card. So, let's hope a banquet can build on this and it's not more of a Peter Atebo debut from a few years ago against Aston Villa, where he started off really well, then completely fell off. I mean, Watford almost did as well. From the away end, I thought we'd actually gone 1-0 down as well. Jerry Yates had an opportunity, but luckily, Charlie, we did go 1-0 up through Imran Louza after a good bit of work from Quadro Bar. Do you want to talk us through the goal?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, that chance from Yates is a sitter. And yesterday, I thought we did play well, but we did ride our luck on several occasions, and we'll probably get into the big moments. It feels like our woodwork's probably still shaking, but yeah, again, this kind of slow start, that would have been just classic Watford. But it was good to see us respond, go up the other end. And how many times have we seen a goal like this where Quadro Bar's tearing up the right? There isn't a left back. I haven't seen a left back sort him out or do a job on him at all this season. So I'm waiting to see. Even a player like Harrison Burrows at Sheffield United, he was left in his wake 2 or 3 times. So Barr has just been unbelievable. And yeah, he puts the ball in. And what really pleased me about that goal was the amount of bodies we had in the box. It wasn't just kind of Louza. I know it kind of took a ricochet and fell kindly to Louza, but we had Vata, we had Louza, Bio. So to see those numbers, I think even Ngakia was sneaking in around the back. So that just showed that attacking intent. And I think that early goal, something that we haven't seen all season, but that was kind of what set us going, even as fans, because I know everyone was saying how well the fans were going. That's because we were leading for the majority of the games, and we did not let up. And I think that, don't get me wrong, the fans did their job, and I think the players appreciated that, and it kept them going. There was never a lull in the game. I didn't find. So vital goal. Good to see Louza doing well, and I think we've seen the video. It's great to see the celebrations of all 10 outfield players running into the corner in front of the away and celebrating together. And yeah, that was a perfect start to yesterday.
Yeah, some of the best away celebrations I can remember for a long time in the first half. A word that Arlo seems to use quite a lot at the moment on from the Rookery end is limbs, which it was, I thought. Again, we will talk a bit more about that connection between the fans, the players and the coaching staff a bit later on in the video. But I do think, at least in my opinion, I think watching the highlights back, you might disagree with me, Mike, but it's difficult to argue. I think that Watford did get a bit lucky. Obviously, there was that passage of play where Derby hit the crossbar twice. Jonathan Bond made two excellent saves either side of half time. Derby hit the post as well. And there was sometimes where Watford did look a bit under the cosh. Do you think there was an element of, do you think there was a big element of luck to it yesterday as well?
I mean, if you look at the chances, Derby did have excellent chances. There's no point denying that. And as Charlie said, we should have probably been behind after a minute, for all me saying it was good for a banquet to set the tone. That free kick nearly cost us a goal, and we'd probably be having a very different chat now. But I think when you're away from home, you do need an element of luck. The opposition, unless you're playing someone absolutely hopeless, which Derby absolutely are not, by the way. I think they're an okay side. They're down on their luck, as we saw yesterday. They're not a terrible side. We'll play worse sides than them in the Championship this season. But yeah, they spurned some good chances. Tom has been at pains, I think, to explain that there is a bit of a deal to be done between being that really difficult to broach defence that we saw potentially against Cardiff, and opening up with having all those attacking players on the pitch. I think he recognises that we probably haven't got the personnel to be both. We're not going to pose an ongoing attacking threat and be tight at the back, but you have to ride your luck. And I think the most impressive thing for me, it never really felt like Watford lost their heads. And there was a bit of pinball, and the Championship football, they are players of a certain level on both sides, and therefore chances are going to get given up. But what Watford didn't do is panic. And the most important bit for me was that 10 minutes after half time, where Derby really did come out with a spring in their step. They really took the game to Watford, and everyone was looking around a little bit thinking, this feels like the ball game here. We've got to stay in it. And they did. Again, there were chances. They rattled the upright, didn't they? They hit the post. That was a really good chance. And there were other good chances. So, yeah, they did ride their luck. But we haven't got, as we all know, we haven't got the personnel to be super tight at the back own the midfield and to have the attacking threat that we all want. We just haven't got that team. So he rolled the dice to a degree. We definitely got lucky at times, but let's not forget Watford had really, really good chances as well. I think overall both sides created decent chances, which is why I think everyone enjoyed the game so much. It was really, really entertaining. But we definitely got away with a few. John Bond, I thought, was absolutely sensational again. Made some really, really good saves. Not convinced about him coming for crosses sometimes. You see that flash of yellow or whatever kit he's wearing. I think that was Cardiff. You saw him coming out nowhere near the ball. But in terms of his shot stopping, he's made some really, really important saves this week, and none more so than yesterday. So yes, rode our luck a little bit, but that's the price we pay, I think, for having exactly what Charlie described: Vata, Bar and Bio up there, and Loser in that attacking role. Lovely to watch that, and I'll take the opposition having a few chances if it means that we've got that at the other end, definitely.
Is Bond any worse than Bachmann, in your opinion, Mike?
Any worse? I think they're
any better than Bond, whatever way you like to look at it.
I don't know. I mean, I think John Bond's absolutely fine. I think I've been very, very frustrated with Bachmann's performances in the last couple in this run of form. I think he sort of summed up some of the issues that this Watford squad have had in terms of mentality and trying to fight their way out of tough situations. I think he's one that probably looks for the easy option, to be honest. Jonathan Bond has does absolutely fine since he's come in, I think, personally. So he can only play the games he's played in, and for me, I wouldn't say he's been cause for too much concern. I think his coming for crosses needs a bit of work, but he's pulled off some big saves.
Yeah, 100%. And here's hoping as well that Bondi's injury, or as Tom Cleverley said, we saw he wasn't kicking the ball throughout the second half. I don't think he was doing too much kicking in training this week as well. So hopefully Tom Cleverley is okay. I'm just going to bring up a comment here from Tim as well. Obviously, Jeremy Ngaki played at left back yesterday, and Yasser Larousi came on as well in the second half. Tim said that we have a free agent left back who will be signing soon. So interesting one to keep an eye on. Maybe Tim, if you want to drop us an exclusive and drop us the name in the comments in the live chat, that would be appreciated, and we'll share it on today's stream. Coming on to the second goal as well, Charlie. Big Moussa Sissoko, a player who has got a lot of criticism over the last week. I've been really critical throughout this season. I know, Mike, you've had your issues with Sissoko as well. That shot that hit the bar, though, in the second half, do you know what? I think that would have been worth an apology, to be honest with you, if that had gone in, because that would have been unbelievable, wouldn't it?
It's one of those strikes where you just let out the most random noise when you see it. Well, I do anyway.
Got to recreate it.
No, we'll have to do it. Yeah, they can only see it live. Wrapped his left foot around it. And when a ball's hit so sweet and so quickly, you blink and you feel like it's a bit of a glitch in the system, especially with Sissoko doing that. Unbelievable strike. I think it hit the keeper on the back of his head afterwards. But yeah, if that screamed in, then you really did know it was going to be our day. One things that I wanted to kind of discuss and go through a few screenshots and what I've said about the back four and the chance that Derby had. Before I get the slides up, Mike, do you have any thoughts in terms of us defensive shape? Do you think we're better off suited as a back four and just go for it, or do you think we've seen our best work in a free?
What I enjoyed yesterday was the work that Vata and Bar did defensively, coming back to protect the fullbacks. I think earlier on in the season, I'm not sure that they understood or were able to do that for whatever reason. Yesterday, we saw them, Vata in particular, working hard for the entire game. He was herring up and down that flank, protecting his left back whenever was required. So I think if we can keep those guys doing, it's asking a lot of them, but they're young lads, they're fit lads, and yeah, to be honest, I like the four. I just like it. I think it's probably sounds a bit old school and a bit reductive, but I think it gives us a bit more flexibility. And I think as long as we can keep protecting them, and we're going to ask increasing amounts of Vata and Bar. I think they did a great job yesterday. For me, I like it, and I just like the way that we're able to take the game to the opposition. It's when we look at our best. I think Tom I don't think has been massively comfortable with it. His MO has been to keep it really, really tight and then try and hit on the break later in the game. But we almost did that anyway yesterday. If you look at, we had the amount of chances we had late on in the game when Derby were having to go for it. We could have had another 2 or 3 quite easily, really. So look, you can probably ask questions about all of our defenders one way or the other. But for me, the 4, I don't know, it just gives us a little bit of solidity and a bit more of a springboard to be more creative and more effective offensively. It does need those guys to keep working though, and it's a big ask. So be interested to see what you got here.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of maybe disagree a bit in terms of solidity. I just feel, especially Sierralta and Pollock, I just feel that they get moved about a lot, and the amount of goals I feel like we've seen where we've seen overloads, and this was a chance. I think this is like a really good screenshot to start off. You can see a Banquist looking at his man. I think it's Mendes Lang at the back post. If you watch the video, he scans 10 times before the cross comes in. And then you can see like the distance here with Quadro Bar, what Mike was saying. I think Bar and Vata did do very well, but if we're going to play this shape, we're going to realise that we're asking a lot of our right back and our left back, and I think that's why Ngakia got the nod. So if you move it on, you can see again he's scanning constantly to try and see where Mendes Lang is. They move the ball around to kind of through here. It just looks very narrow to me, and then their fullbacks get in, puts a good cross in, and I just feel like we've conceded so many goals when we get an overload on the other side, and I just think that's a personnel thing. I think Banquist did amazing yesterday, but if you look where it drops here, this should have been a goal. I think this is when it absolutely rattled the crossbar, and I don't think it's the Banquist's fault. I just think I just think we're not confident in our conviction when we. Personnel-wise, especially with Sierralta and Pollock, and especially in transition. This wasn't so much in transition, but they still had a really high XG chance. Sam, I don't know what you think. I think one thing with a Banquist which I'd like to see is him and Pollock could be a really nice duo, and I think he's got more composure, and I think he's got maybe a bit more pace and mobility than Pollock. But what do you think of the 4 versus 5 debate?
Yeah, those are 2 words that I would have used in terms of pace and mobility. I was thinking about this earlier, but I actually think Pollock and a Banquist, if a Banquist's performance yesterday is anything to go by, I actually think they complement each other really, really well, because as good of a pure defender Matty Pollock is, and I think we have to talk about his performance yesterday because I thought it was exceptional, wore the armband, it was captain's performance, and you'd hope that he probably will for many years to come at some point in the near future. But as good as a pure defender he is, I think we're still lacking a bit of mobility at the back, and I think we're lacking a bit of pace still at the back. I thought Sierralta had a better game yesterday, particularly in terms of blocking shots. Did find it quite amusing in the last minute where I think one of the Derby wingers tried to get past him, and he just thought, not having this, and just completely wiped him out. But I do think a Banquist and Pollock could potentially, if it's a back 4, be an answer. I'm not sure if it's the answer because we haven't seen enough of a Banquist yet. But I think it could be one to keep an eye on, maybe.
Yeah, I think you make a good point, Charlie. I think our box is breached far too easily with simple balls, and I think you're also right in terms of personnel. You've got Jeremy Ngakia, who's a right back playing left back. A Banquist, his first game for Watford, he's only been in and around the club for 3, 4, 5 days. Sierralta struggled a bit, as Sam alluded to there. I think his pace and his mobility is questionable, but is he more solid and steady than perhaps Porteous, who's going to have that rush of blood to the head and going to get caught 350 yards upfield, having pushed someone over and then scurrying to get back? So it's a recurring theme through, anyone having a conversation about Watford and their performance is going to talk about the personnel and what we've got available. You're 100% right, Charlie. I think, as I said, there's too many ways into the box, and there's they end up with too much space, too many opportunities, and too many ways of testing our goalkeeper, and that's something that we've got to look at. But again, I think it's that toss up between what we got going the other way and how nimble we are in terms of being able to take the game to the opposition, and how much we're willing to give up in terms of XG to the opposition. But I make you right, it's tough, but mitigating circumstances yesterday. First game for a Banquist, and people just getting used to it. It's so rare that we play the same 11. I'd be surprised if we've even done it this year. And that back four, back five, back three with wing back, it changes. It's changed a lot.
Yeah.
So it is asking a lot of the players, especially defensive ones. And then you've got a different goalkeeper behind you. I think getting that consistency is something that will help us. And the more we can hit on a system, more we can hit on personnel that are going to play regularly, I think we'll reap the benefits.
I also don't think, sorry, Sam, last thing, and then we'll move on to the positives. I also don't think we have like a midfielder with a defensive mindset at all. Whether that's Loser, Tom Delly, someone that's sniffing and covering around the box, I just don't think we have that. So we haven't got that kind of shield and that layer before. But sorry, Sam.
Tom did well in that role yesterday, though. Tom did do well, I thought.
Yeah, it was really, really good and really good to see him back. I did have a slight worry that potentially he tweaked something at half-time. I wasn't expecting him to play the whole game, but I thought it was an interesting way round to do things and almost starting with Tom Delly rather than bringing him on in the second half, which is normally how you see these things done when players are coming back from long-term injuries. But yeah, hopefully he'll be okay for Tuesday night and the weekend against Coventry. Whether it's the debates about the back four and the back five, it'll be interesting to see which route Tom goes down now as players come back from injury. One thing that has been huge for Watford this season are the substitutions off the bench, whether that's been Vata, whether that's been Quadro Bar, and someone who, like I mentioned before, Musa Sissoko came on and did have a big role yesterday, got an assist for the second goal for Edo Kiyembe in what was, I think, a really, really good breakaway move for Watford. Charlie, do you want to break down the goal for us?
Not really. So no, the slides that I've got are for like a counter-attacking move, but not that particular goal. But I've always interested about Sissoko. He actually played as the 10 and they dropped Kiyembe back.
Yeah. I think Sissoko did really well for the goal because it's him that starts the move, doing that defensive work. And I think the reason it was that way around, Sam, that Tom started instead of coming on, was that Sissoko was an absolute disgrace on Tuesday. I don't think he had any option but to drop him. And then what happened was everyone else showed him how to do it, and lo and behold, he came on and he was more like the Musa that we saw earlier in the season. And I think he was back doing his defensive work for the goal. He hoofed it clear. Bio, who I thought was tremendous all game. I've been one of his biggest critics throughout his Watford career, but I thought he was excellent again yesterday. Does what he can anyway. So Sissoko on to Bio, who great touch, and then a nice ball back onto Musa, who helped it on. Perfectly weighted ball through to Kiyembe, who slotted it. It was the absolute perfect counter-attack goal. It was glorious. It really, really nice. And I think the celebrations just sort of encompassed that. It was just like, yeah, we've finished a move that we've really worked hard on. And I think for all the brickbats we've given Sissoko, you have to give him massive credit for his role in the goal. Started it, busted a gut to get up to get the ball back from Bio. It perfectly weighted ball through, and Kiyembe did the rest. It was glorious. Yeah,
really, really good goal to see for Watford, and it was actually a really good finish from Kiyembe as well. I think it's sometimes, because he did have a couple of seconds to think about it, I think sometimes we've seen players miss those opportunities, but a really, really nice finish there. Charlie, something that someone's brought up yesterday, and I want to bring this tweet up from Gavin Smith, who said that Watford look more fluid and dangerous without Chak. Who would have thought it? Obviously, Georgie Shapatazzi didn't play for Watford yesterday. He's been a huge player for us this season. What did you make of that? Because particularly with the counter-attacking goal in the second half, do you think that was an element that Watford were able just to get the ball forward a bit quicker?
Yeah, I think it's a real conundrum with Tom, and I think sometimes football you just have to simplify it and just get players in their best position. We haven't had the luxury of doing that all season. And when I look at this shape with a 4-2-3-1, I don't really know where Georgie fits in there. I think Vata's perfect, hugging that touchline on the left, driving inwards towards goal. I think Bart staying on the touchline, getting on the outside, but he can go inside as well. Kiyembe, who I thought was good kind of centrally, a bit more forward. Do you think Georgie can play that? I think Georgie's best position is kind of in the midfield, slightly deeper towards like an 8, where he can kind of receive it off the defence turn, and then he's got all that grass to go in. So it's a difficult one. I don't think we were more fluid because he wasn't in the team. I just think we played better. How many times has Georgie kind of been the star of the show? West Brom at home, Oxford at home, when he's the one who's been the driving force. So it's going to be interesting when he gets back in. And when we're talking about should we go 4, should we go 5, I think what could work well maybe is against the lesser teams where we can afford to maybe be a bit more risky and go a bit more gung-ho. We know the chances might not be converted, go for a 4. But when we're playing Leeds, Burnley, Sheffield United, with the quality they've got, when they're getting balls in the box, I just think we'll get ripped to shreds, to be honest.
I think we had a striker yesterday, really, with Georgie. I think he's due a break. And we know you don't want anyone to be injured, of course. But the other thing is Derby are preparing to come up against Georgie Takvitadze, and we've seen what most opposition do with him, and that's they stifle him. There's 2-3 men around him all the time, and that's made it look like harder work for Georgie. So I think potentially we would have rather had him in the starting lineup, but not to have him perhaps freed Tom up a little bit and was a bit of a curveball for Derby to defend against. For example, they couldn't get a hold of Vata at all game. He was a complete nuisance. Osborne completely lost it. I think it was Osborne, wasn't it? Number 8 sort of swiped at him after he completely mugged him off early in the game. And I think he just freed us up. I think Georgie is by far and away, he's one of the best players in the division, let alone our squad. Other oppositions have worked him out a little bit. The way Watford play has been stifling and a little bit muddied and a bit unsure. So ultimately, he's been left for quite a few games just trying to make something happen with 3 players around him, which even for the best is difficult. So interesting to see what happens when he's back fit. But I think yesterday, perversely, it might have just played into our hands a little bit.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think for the start, I mean, pretty much everything except for the last 3 games, I've described Georgie as, great to watch and exciting to watch, and he's definitely our best player in terms of what he can do on the ball. I think the last 3 or 4 games, though, the word I'd use to describe him is exhausted, because I just think he needed that rest, to be honest with you. I think these last few weeks have probably really taken out of him, particularly with the form that we were going through before yesterday as well. Charlie, I know you
how
are.
He feels, lads. He's doing the rest himself.
I mean, just on that, because Charlie, I know you want to talk about a counter-attacking move we had in the game yesterday as well. Mike, saying that you're exhausted, does that mean you won't be making an appearance this year in the WD18 Cup? Have you had a call
I'll
up?
be there in some form or other. It might be as a cheerleader, it might be as some sort of coach if I can get my UEFA A done in time. But I'll be there somewhere. Don't you worry. Might have to dust down the goalkeeper gloves, maybe.
We'll get the Harry the Hornet suit on you for the day as well. Cool. Mike, Charlie, do you want to talk through this counter-attacking move?
Yeah. Again, very similar to the goal, but I just thought this one epitomised kind of Watford's performance yesterday. And we spoke about early in the season that we thought we could be a good kind of counter-attacking team in transition. And this move kind of just reeked Watford under Tom Cleverley. We got a 2-on-2 in the corner where really they shouldn't be getting out, but it's good to see that even late on in the game working back. The Roosi's just come on, but we still couldn't contain them. They got through to put a cross in. Again, if I'm looking at the defending here in Sierralta, well, look at their man. He's got a lot of space there. So that's kind of, again, my argument about defending that spatial awareness. They get a cross in, but to be fair, you can't really see it here, but could you see a Banquer here makes a really, really good block just to take it off their man. It bounces back into the mix. Their player gets a foot to it, but there's our 2 boys again, Sierralta and Pollock. I think Pollock makes a vital block. So that kind of full-blooded defending, which I think we've shown great application. And in the last couple of seasons, we would not have seen any of that. Similar to the goal, Musa Sissoko, he kind of gets a bit of a foot on it or just puts the defender off. I think they were calling for a penalty, but he did enough. And then we break away with it. Larousse down the left, knocks it onto Bayer, who flicks it back through to Larousse. And then, to be fair to Larousse, he plays a really, really nice ball back into the mix. Let's get the proper arrows that we want. Over here to Vata, who's just running onto it. Vata with a lovely ball onto Quadro Bar. And Quadro Bar there, the touch is not great. And we love Bar, everything about him. But one word that I don't think is in his vocabulary or his playbook is finesse.
No.
Everything about him is hard and fast, and I think that touch kind of took it away from him. But to be fair, the keeper did get out well and made a good save. But I just thought that move was everything that I liked about this Watford teams in terms of putting our bodies on the line to defend. But then when we get a chance, everybody get up and work really hard. You saw Vata there; he started in the corner, and here he is right at the end, kind of what should have been an assist, but. We've said about the amount of chances we gave up, but we did win the XG battle yesterday. We did have some really good chances ourselves. I think we had one where Sissoko actually put through a really nice ball, and the keeper came out, and Kayembe, I think he tried to overcomplicate it. He tried to put it in the top corner, maybe take it a touch or chip it. But yeah, I thought we were really, really good to watch yesterday, and a shame we didn't get second or third. But I was saying towards probably midway through half time or maybe 5 minutes in, I was like, this ain't going to be 1-0. We need a second if we're going to get anything. So that goal that we scored with Kayembe was a real kind of nice relief for us to go on and enjoy the rest of the game. And we didn't stop there, which was pleasing.
Yeah, definitely. I think Watford really needed that second goal. And I just wanted to give a word as well to Rocco Vata, who should have had that assist yesterday, because one thing over the last few weeks as well that we've seen with Vata is how good he is on the ball. We saw that amazing goal against Fulham away in the FA Cup. We saw the goal against Portsmouth at home, of course, on Boxing Day as well. But I think to be a complete player, and they're the words Tom Cleverley used for Rocco Vata, is to a complete player. We have to see the other side to the game as well. I've seen so many players over the years who they're either really, really good on the ball, but just don't quite cut it off it in terms of their off the ball work. While it wasn't necessarily the most glamorous Rocco Vata performance yesterday in terms of him having those 30-yard shots into the top corner or getting an assist like he should have done for Quadro Bar, his work off the ball yesterday was absolutely incredible, wasn't it, Mike?
What a player he is. I pinch myself when I watch him. He's so positive, he's confident, he's comfortable, he just wants to make something happen. He can beat a man, he can does it in the deftest of ways with just either a little bit of movement or a touch and go. And I think you're right, Sam. I think his off the ball work has come on leaps and bounds in the short time that we've seen him as a regular player for Watford. And he's just a joy to watch. He's a real bums off seats footballer, isn't he? And Watford fans have taken to him massively, and for obvious reasons. We've had so few players like him. He's almost like a traditional winger, really, isn't he? Tricky, and what I love about him, and I've always loved about him, is that positivity. Just that desire to make something happen every time he gets on the ball. He doesn't think about anything else apart from making something happen. His work rate is phenomenal, and what a pickup he was for 200 grand. Absolutely extraordinary. And just loving seeing him develop before our eyes, almost week by week by week. He's giving more to this Watford side, and joy to watch as a supporter. I thought he was absolutely brilliant yesterday. I thought he had Derby on toast. It was fabulous.
Yeah,
I think it's important. Sorry, Sam. I think it's important to remember he's still only 19.
Yeah,
and I think the way Cleverley's managed him is pretty shrewd, because if he would have thrown him in at the start and he would have been very raw, it might not have worked out, or it might have dented his confidence. He's just eked him in, and I think every time he's played, he's got better and better. And now we're seeing the off the ball stuff and the defensive work. His energy is crazy. Here's a tweet we put out in the week about him and Bar having the best goal creating actions per 90 of any young player in the Championship. Our two boys leading the line. So it just shows we've got an exciting future ahead. Well, I say that we were having a conversation in the car, and I made the shout that I think Vata could be the biggest profitable signing in the Pozzo era, because I could easily see him going for a 30 million if he has another 2 good seasons with us. And we were trying to think, what other players have we flipped that we've made a big profit on? Someone on the way back said Luca Bacchio. Apparently we signed him for 5 million and sold him for 20 million. I think he played about twice.
He got a massive ceiling for me. I think I'm just really excited that we've got him. And I've said it before, and you do have to give credit. Sometimes we talk about flipping players, lots of stuff going on about Gino and the ownership, but they do keep coming up somehow by hook or by crook with these players that go on to be superstars, really, one way or the other. We've seen João Pedro again at Brighton today, sorting out Manchester United
Again.
They do unearth them, and I think you're right.
Richarlison scoring today as well for Tottenham.
Yeah, absolutely. Even Estupinian playing for Brighton as well. So, but yeah, look, let's talk about players we've got, and I agree with you, Charlie. I think he could go stratospheric if he carries on at this rate. Obviously, he's young and he's unencumbered by responsibility really and expectation. None of us expected what we're seeing from him when we announced we were signed this under 21 from Celtic for the bag of peanuts. And there's no expectation on him. So, and he plays like that. Hopefully, he can keep that sort of brave innocence, if you like, in the way he plays. There's absolutely no reason why not. He's someone who looks like he absolutely adores his football. And I think it was you, Sam, that said his energy is ludicrous. I mean, he's significantly younger than any of us, me certainly, and he's definitely not carrying as much timber. So you'd expect him to be to put in the yards in. But I thought yesterday it was noticeable with 97 minutes on the clock, still up and down, trying to make stuff happen, doing his defensive cover. The bloke's absolutely magic. I love him.
Yeah, absolutely quality. And I think as well, I mean, in terms of improvements that we've seen this season in players, the 4 players that I'd immediately go to in terms of improvements would be Matty Pollock, Rocco Vata from the player we saw at the start to now coming on every single week, Quadro Bar and Imran Louza as well, who I just think the improvement's been massive. And that is, I think, down to Tom Cleverley. We saw the away end yesterday, clearly right behind Tom Cleverley from the warm-ups until after the game. The reception Cleverley got full-time, blowing kisses to the away end as well. My man of the match yesterday was that away end, because that's what you call a united fan base behind the manager. Mike, I saw you reply to someone on Twitter earlier on from the Rookery account saying that it was almost like the fans saying, if we have to pick between Tom and Gino, there's only going to be one winner, isn't there?
Yeah, and in my mind, there's no doubt about that. And I think we might look. I think that the support that feels like there's been a shift in terms of support back to old school support, if you know what I mean. And I think it started at Fulham. There was just a real sense of togetherness there. We probably knew we were going to get a hiding. It was a difficult night in terms of it being a Thursday night, but Watford fans went there that night determined to get behind the team. Tom called it out. So did Paul Robinson. Explained how important it was. And I think that carried on yesterday. It was a full away end. It was a boisterous away end. But I think we might look back at yesterday as the first time when then there's been concerted, properly audible, coordinated descent really towards Gino. And I think it's both things. It's like, look, if you're gonna muck around with Tom, Gino, we're going to tell you exactly how we feel about it. And that was probably the most sung chant yesterday. I'm sure everyone's heard it by now, still got it going around in their head, been humming it as they do the hoovering or feed the fish or whatever it is we do on a Sunday. And there could be no doubt, because Derby the crowd was silenced thanks to Watford. And if you look back on the highlights, you can hear that away end, super noisy. Andrew French referenced it in his point. And there was people in high places who will have heard that loud and clear. Now, I'm of the firm opinion that Gino Pozzo couldn't give a flying fig about what the fans think, really. And I'd also wonder whether it might have a negative effect in terms of him getting a bit arsey, and don't know, maybe he's not that petulant. But I think it was telling, wasn't it, that Watford fans got together. They were vocal throughout. There was loads of good. It's just a good old sing-song, good old Championship day. Watford got behind the team. There's not a few Luton chants here or there, but by and large, it was massively supportive. It was a buoyant away crowd who were determined, absolutely determined to get behind that side. And that's what we all did from start to finish. Derby started in the second half. They got going because they're attacking their noisy fans. And we tried to ramp it up a bit. You tried to respond. And it's easy to perhaps sometimes overplay the role of supporters in a football club. But you can't help but know that will have helped that egg on Watford yesterday. But yeah, real telling moment, that chant, the sort of anti-Gino sentiment, pro-Tom sentiment. No surprise to anyone, of course, but very much the first time that it's been sort of heard en masse. And yeah, I think we might look back on yesterday as a bit of a tentpole moment, really.
Yeah, I mean, if you didn't hear the chant yesterday, somehow, if you're one of the only Watford fans out there who didn't hear the chant, the lyrics were I don't care about Gino. He don't care about me. All I care about is Tom Cleverley. With the chant as well, Tom Cleverley, ole ole, which was going on for the majority of the game yesterday, as well as a new spectacular Rocco Vata chant, which as well I've been singing around the house as well. So fair play to whoever got that one going.
The best chant yesterday was "Who's a banquet over there?"
Oh. Let's hope that we'll be singing that a few more times in the Rookery throughout this season. In terms of away ends, Charlie, not just in terms of noise, but in terms of having an away end so united behind the team and the coaching staff, almost as one collective. I know that there's also, I know Dave Walker's not on here, but if I'm bringing out the cliche, that was an example of having the 12th man, because I think the Derby fans were very much on their players' backs. We were right behind the team, and I think that did make a huge difference yesterday. Where does that rank in terms of away ends that you've been in terms of that having that united element to it?
Do you know what it reminded me of, actually? It's literally just sprung to mind. We played Everton away years ago after Mr. Marco Silva jumped ship, and there was some inflatables of some reptiles in the away end, and I think that game was 2-2. I feel like they always scored last minute, but
yeah, Luca Dean scored a free kick in the last minute. Yeah,
classic. But that was like a reminder that everyone was kind of. I don't think it was as kind of consistent, but it just was the best reminder of everyone being unified, and that was the big thing for me, that the fan base was unified, because in the last couple of years there has been kind of fractions from really bad performances from the team and people not seeing eye to eye and kind of grumblings, but the fact that everyone was united was really, really good to see. And yeah, it was one of the best away ends I can remember. Sam, you two were at Fulham and you said how good that was. And then other ones that just spring to mind, again, like Everton away first day when we got promoted, 2015, obviously Brighton when we the promotion season when we before we went up was unbelievable. But yeah, that was for recent times. I can't remember one better than that.
Yeah, this might be recency bias, but I genuinely think the Fulham game, I know we lost 4-1 in that game, or 5-1, whatever it was, as well as yesterday. I can't think of too many better away ends we've had, at least in quick succession as well, in a long, long time.
No, and I think football supporters are good in adversity, and I think we feel like, as Watford supporters, that we've been wronged a little bit. We've been poked a little bit. The hornet's nest has been poked. If let's go with it. Now we know Dave's not here, and Watford fans came out in force, and like I say, we're just determined to enjoy the day, but to vocally not just be there, not just exist, but to, as one, get behind the team and represent ourselves, represent the club, and get our feelings across. And I thought Watford fans at Fulham, the few of us that went to Cardiff on Tuesday night, difficult to get an atmosphere going there because it was, I mean, that was probably one of the worst atmospheres a game's been played in. But Watford fans still giving it big. Tom Cleverley, LA. We all came home hoarse that night, didn't we? But I think that adversity, it's, as football supporters, it's if we've got something good going on, don't mess with it. Because it means a lot to us. We're proud of it. We're incredibly proud of what Tom's done. We're incredibly proud of our football club. And I think yesterday showed what being a football supporter is about, which is, if you can, getting along to a game and showing support for the club you care about, the players you care about, and the staff you care about. And it was magnificent. I think everyone can hold their heads up high, fans, club, for players, staff, and everyone was rightly buzzing leaving Pride Park yesterday. It was absolutely fantastic, and just a real show of how positive fans can have an impact on the performance, on the game, and also our enjoyment of it. If everyone's up for it, everyone's giving it everything we've got in terms of support, it's just more fun, isn't it? Easy to say that with the win. If we'd have let in a last minute equaliser or whatever, it'd be different. But you get in what you put out, and fans do make a difference. Noise does make a difference. Atmosphere does make a difference. Being committed does make a difference. You could see the way that the players celebrated yesterday over in that corner with us. That was a shared moment. And it was, for everyone else looking at the classifieds, they'll be thinking, well, Watford beat Derby 2-0. They won't think anything of it. But it was a moment for us, and it was a shared moment, and one that we all learnt together. Bloody marvellous. Bring on Cov.
There was a lovely moment. There was a lovely moment as well. I think after Sir Alta took that fella's shin off, so there was a bit of time injury, and the fans were just brilliant through that period of play when it was stopped, and Imran Loser was just kind of orchestrating the away end and so encouraging and really enjoying it. And it's connection, and it's just connection, and you're looking in these players' eyes, and every time someone comes over, they're telling us to get up, and so when you go through the hard times and you forget about it, you forget like how good it can be, like supporting a team that you believe in. And at the moment, it's just reminded me, and I wasn't sure about whether I was going to go to Coventry, but first thing I thought this morning is, let's get that booked because I want a bit more of what I saw yesterday. So it's good times.
Get that train ticket booked, Charlie. Andrew French referenced this in his match report as well, or an article that came out today, so make sure to check that out. But I think a lot of people from the outside would have looked at that, like you just said, Mike, and gone, Watford beat Derby 2-0. Derby are down towards the bottom of the league. I think they're now only 1 point above the relegation zone. We're going to have a look at that relegation zone in a minute.
I'm ready, Sam. I'm ready to get it out. Whatever you need me.
And obviously, Watford are playoff contenders. I think that's the reality of it. We are level on points with sixth place. Somehow we're still there, even after a difficult few weeks. So people might be thinking, why was that so significant? But I think this feels like, I don't know how the rest of the season will play out, or Tom Cleverley's tenure. But for me, and I'd go as far as saying this, even though it's only a day on, that could be a monumental moment, not just in the season, but also in Gino Pozzo's reign, because I think it's quite clear now where the fans sit in terms of the coaches and the players and the board all at the same time. Going into Tuesday then, another big game at home to Preston. Let's see where Watford sit going into that. First off, let's look at the championship table and let's start towards the bottom. I think it's only right to do that. Charlie, do you want to read out the bottom three for us?
I don't know if we've got enough time to scroll. Hang on. Right. You've got to see that, okay? That is tough. That is tough going. Let's not worry about them not too much because they're coming to our place soon. But let me open this up a bit so you can see some points.
Football is crazy though, because people would have thought it'd be the other way around, wouldn't it? In terms of us being in relegation and them up there. They drew 0-0 to Preston yesterday. And they're our next opponents. Charlie, where do we sit going into that one?
Yeah, I think it's massive, and I think I'm still not a believer that we're a playoff contender, and I'm a bit worried that even if we sneak in there, we might get hiding against one of the big boys. So I'm like at the moment, I'm just really enjoying the season without any expectation. But we are right in the mix, and knowing Tom Cleverley, he's not going to have the same weak mentality that I've got. He's going to want to get in the playoffs, and he's going to want to get this team back in the Premier League. Like he said many times, he wants to get Watford back up there.
Charlie, I've got to pull you up on that, mate. Middlesbrough above us, beating them. West Brom above us, beating them. Blackburn above us, beating them. Sunderland above us, beating them. Burnley, we ran close in the end despite a bit of a shonky performance. Sheffield United, 2 close games. And Leeds, when we least expected it, actually recovered from an absolutely appalling start away at Ellen Road. Only lost that game 2-1. So I'm kind of with you in terms of where I genuinely believe we should be. But the league table, another one for cliches, it doesn't lie. And Watford's extraordinary home form, and it was extraordinary, has put us in this incredible position. And it doesn't need to be feast or famine. I don't think we need to get too overexcited nor too down about it. Watford are in with a really, really good shot of making the rest of the season interesting, which, like Sam said, is miles ahead of anything that we could have hoped for or realistically anticipated. So for us to be there at this stage of the season is an incredible effort, but it's all down to that home form. And in those home games that we've won, I listed them off there where we've beaten those good sides, it's all about the performances haven't been good, but we found a way. And we found a way again yesterday. We found a way to nick a point away against Cardiff when we played, anyone playing the WD18 Cup later this year. You could pick 11 players out of them, stuck them on the pitch. They wouldn't have done a worse job, me included. But we found a way to get a point. We stopped the rot. And that's what this Watford team has, is that when they're playing together, where they're playing for Tom, you've got big heart. And that went missing a little bit. There's been times where that wasn't showing. QPR, I thought, was poor. Luton away was dreadful as well. So it can go missing, but when it's on point, it is a powerful thing. And I think you're right with Tuesday being massive. We need to regain that feeling of Vicarage Road being a very, very difficult place to go. Cardiff did a number on us. We knew it was going to end eventually. We sort of played into their hands a little bit. Sheffield United, we were probably unlucky to lose, I think, in the end. But we need to get back that feeling that home is really important for us. And I think we've delivered ourselves now a really, really good chance to get that back again, to play Preston. They'll make it difficult for us. So whether Tom carries on the way he did against Derby and takes the game to Preston, I think personally that's the best way to do it. And then we've got Cov, who are under pressure as well. So I think the early season work that Tom and this team have done is magnificent, and it's such a solid foundation for us to build on. We're not the Championship's best team. We are thin on the ground in terms of numbers. I have grave doubts that we'll be seeing any reinforcements of note. I can't imagine we will spend a single penny in transfer fees. I just don't see it happening, having looked at the accounts. But there is a nucleus of a real tough side here, and when they believe in each other and when they're working for Tom, they're a tough nut to crack. So get back on track with the home form against Preston, and we could be up and running. But either way, hopefully it's going to be an exciting and interesting end to the season, which none of us really anticipated. Certainly not for good reasons. We thought we were going to be down the wrong end where our mates are, didn't we?
Yeah, the reason I brought up the table, I feel like we're a bit like Robin Hood this season. Taking from the rich and giving to the poor. You list all the teams that we've done well against, but then you look at these teams. Andre Gray did what Andre Gray was always going to do. We sneaked it against Pompey. Whether we deserve that, not too sure. Hull was terrible. Cardiff, we're lucky to get a point against them. But yeah, if we could just get a bit more better, starting on Tuesday against Preston, like Mark said, if we can get anywhere near that level of home form, then yeah, come May, Sam could be getting his little trunks on, see that pond again.
Let's hope so. Before we wrap up then, let's get both your score predictions then for the game on Tuesday night. Preston at home, under the lights at Vicarage Road. Charlie, what are you thinking for this one?
3-3.
Love a 3-3. Mike?
3-3. Mad. I'm going to have a quid on that, though. I mean, it goes against every bone in my body to be optimistic, so I'm not going to go over the top. I do think Watford will win. I love this side. I've really enjoyed my time at Vicarage Road this season. I think the games have been really championshipy, but I've enjoyed them for that. I think Watford are going to scrap to a 1-0 win.
Love it. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really, really scrappy game as well. I don't think, unlike the Derby game, which I think would have been quite enjoyable for a neutral fan to watch, it was end-to-end, a lot of opportunities. I don't think this one will be the same. I think it is going to be 2-1 to Watford at Vicarage Road. Any final thoughts then before we wrap up? Charlie, home game as well, close to the Mad Squirrel. Anything we should know about what's going on there?
It's funny you should say that, Sam. Yes, there is a new offer that Mad Squirrel are going to be doing on match days going forward. That's going to be 15% off food. So Tuesday nights will be between 5 and 7 before the game, and Saturdays will be after the game. So all you need to do is go into the bar. They're going to have posters on the door as you go in and on the walls. That's going to have a QR code. Get your camera on. That'll put you through to a link. Put your email address in, and then you'll get emailed a code. Go to the bar staff, and then you'll get your discount when you order your food. So QR code, camera, email address, 15% off. And if anyone's had their food there, they'll know how good it is, as well as the beer. Lovely pizzas in the stone bake oven and some really good smash burgers. Yeah. So perfect place for a pre-match.
Yeah, I was going to say, we started the stream talking about food, whether that was Indian food or Nando's, ending it talking about food as well. Mike, have you ever had a pizza from the Mad Squirrel? I know you attend there quite a bit.
Do you know what? I haven't. I tend to be on a firmly liquid diet when I'm at the Mad Squirrel, which I'm sure they'll be pleased about. So yeah, maybe I'll scan that QR code and get 15% off. Thanks. Cheers, lads. Appreciate that.
Mate, I was going to say, we're going to have to change that because those pizzas are unbelievable. Make sure to head to the Mad Squirrel before the game and after the game on Tuesday night. We'll be playing Preston at home. It's only 5 or 6 minute walk to the stadium from there. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you down there. Mike, thank you so much for coming on today. Really appreciate it, mate. Good to see you optimistic as ever now this season. It's the new Mike Parkin as well as the new look Watford.
I'm coming out in a rash saying all this positive stuff and enjoying it. But look, these are the fun times. Get out there, support the football club, enjoy yourself, and let's try and get that atmosphere back to Vicarage Road on Tuesday night. Cheers for having us, lads. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it. Make sure to check out From the Rookery End as well on all of your podcast platforms as well, and let's check out the most recent one as well to hear Charlie Zazzera's voice again and his immediate take after the game. Charlie, thank you so much as always. Make sure to like and subscribe to WD18, and we'll be back probably after the Preston game to talk about, hopefully, let's hope, fingers crossed, another Watford win. Thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you all soon. Up the audits. You would.